Hi, I'm Shelia Tate. The demo lesson you're about to see is a 4th grade language arts lesson. The students are working on finding evidence in pictures and in text to support their point of view. We're also working on personification and learning how authors use that to make their writing more interesting. Hope you enjoy the lesson.
That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some evidence. Now, I have our big idea and our essential question up here. We're going to look at those first. Okay, our big idea is that sometimes we use pictures or figurative language from text as evidence. Okay, and our essential question is, how do I identify personification and how do I prove my point? Okay, so as we're thinking about evidence, and you just had a science lesson where you talked a little bit about evidence. You might go home and in an experiment, try some things and try to find some evidence. So raise your hand if you can tell me what you think is proof or evidence. It can be an example of proof or evidence, or just what you think it is in general. Brian?
I think evidence is you can tell something and show it.
Okay, he said you can tell something and you can show it to us. I'm going to show you some pictures up here. Some of them are kind of blurry. These are pictures of something. You can tell it's something close up, but it's something that you've seen before. So raise your hand if you think you know what this is a picture of. Gracie, what do you think this is a picture of?
Table with flashcards.
Okay, why would you think that's a table with flashcards? Okay, you're talking about this part right here? Yeah, okay. So Gracie thinks it might be a table with some cards on it. Forgot, Ryan.
A boxing ring?
Oh, a boxing ring. Now, why would you think this looks like a boxing ring?
Because it's square and ropes around it.
Okay, because it's a square and it has some little ropes kind of tied around it.
It's not long.
Why would you think it's the lighthouse in our lobby?
Because it's clear cylinder on
Oh, okay. Well, let's look and see if he's right. Okay, can you tell any more from that picture?
Yeah, it's
How do you know? How do you know? What is your proof to prove to me that that is the lighthouse in the lobby? Sam. Okay, that looks like some glass, and we know because we've seen it before that the lobby, the lighthouse that's in the lobby, has glass on it. Let's look at the next picture. Do we have more proof now that that's what it is? Yeah, here's our evidence. You can see the sign. You can see the writing down here. You can see the wall. You can see the holder over here that has the little things down in it. So now we have our evidence that that's what it is. You used lots of evidence, things that you had seen before, things that you knew about certain things as your evidence to describe what you thought it was, to prove your point. So think about what kinds of things do you need proof for as a child or as a grown-up. Think about your parents. What did they have to prove? What are some things that they have to have proof for? Allie.
like a lawyer or a prosecutor, they have to give proof in court.
Okay, depending on their job, if they're a lawyer or a prosecutor, they might have to give proof in their job. Think about that. Can just anybody walk in and say, hey, I'm a lawyer, I want to defend this person? No. What do they have to do?
They have to go through papers.
They have to go through papers, have to go to school. Can I just show up and say, I went to law school, and I want to be a lawyer, and I'm really good at it, and you have to take my word for it? No. Why not? What do I have to do? What kind of proof? I said
A paper to show that you graduated.
I have to have proof that I graduated. So as an adult, sometimes as a kid too, when you take a test, you're showing proof that you studied for something, or when you do an experiment in science. But as adults, we have to have proof for stuff. Put your hands down for just a second. I'm going to show you some of my proof. Now, if I were to ask you, how do you know I exist? What would you say?
You're sitting.
You can see me. You can touch me. You can hear me. So you know I exist. But how do you know that I am who I say I am? How do you know that? Okay, let's look at some of my proof. Anybody know what this is or take a guess what that is? What is that?
My birth certificate.
This is my birth certificate. It's really old because it was made on the day I was born. Okay, so it has my name right here. It has the place where I was born, True County in LaGrange, Georgia. It also has the usual residence of my parents. It has my mother's signature right here. It has the name of the doctor who delivered me in the hospital. This is my proof that I actually exist. I need this when I apply for my driver's license. When I was in school, my parents needed this piece of paper to prove I was who I said I was so that I could start school. Just like when you started to school here, your parents had to prove who you were. They had to submit your birth certificate. So we need proof for lots of different things. Sometimes when authors write stories, they put proof or evidence in there for you to find. They don't tell you right out what the ending of the story is or what different characters mean. So today we're going to look at finding some proof or evidence. We're going to look at it in pictures. You're going to look at some pictures and you're going to come up with some evidence. And then you're going to get with a partner and you're going to read a story and you're going to answer some questions and you're going to have to find proof of those. We're going to look at how do I prove my point using evidence from the text. The one we're going to talk about today is personification. Giving human character to objects or ideas. An example is the sun peeked from behind the clouds. So we can peek at things. Can the sun peek at things? No. But we all know what that means. It's peeking from behind the clouds. We're personifying that, saying that it has human characters. The boy's imagination raced as he stared at the wrapped gift. Okay, that's an idea, his imagination. Can your imagination really race? No. But we use language like that to help us understand. When we're writing, it makes our writing much more interesting. When we're reading, it makes it more fun to read the book to try to find those clues. Okay, so I'm going to model for you what I want you to do. You're going to get a picture with your partner, like this. Here's my picture. So this is a picture of a man. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at my picture and I'm going to think, okay, I have to come up with a caption or a title for this picture. That's what you're going to do. You're going to get a picture and you're going to have to come up with a caption or a title that describes that picture. Okay, so I'm looking at my picture. There's a man in the picture. He's got on some glasses. He's got some eggs in the picture. This looks like a knife, like a butter knife. He's balancing those eggs up there on that knife. He's dressed kind of nicely. He's got on a shirt. This is an old picture. It's black and white. So are yours. But I can tell he's got on a nice shirt. It has cuffs that button. It has a collar that buttons down. It looks like he may have on a tie. I can't really tell, but he's sort of dressed up. So my caption that I'm going to come up with for this picture is magician balancing eggs. So I'm using things that I know already. I'm using some clues from the picture to make my caption. Okay? So you're going to get a picture, you're going to find a partner, and you're going to get a little sticky pad. You're going to write down your observations of the picture, and then you're going to come up with a caption. You're going to have about 5 minutes maybe to do this. It doesn't have to be neat, just some sloppy copying on here. And then you're going to come up and you're going to present your picture with your partner and your caption, and you're going to prove to us why you think that is the right caption for that picture. Okay? Any questions about what you're going to do? All right, so we will start up here with this group.
We decided we put the caption as people at a restaurant or a cafe. And our clues was people dress nicely and just really down and lots of videos and ladies' purses.
Great. Great. So thumbs up if they gave enough evidence to prove their caption for this picture. Awesome. Lots of food. People are dressed kind of nicely. You can tell that they're waiting to get their food. What is the food in the picture? Hot dogs. All right, great. Let's see. Next group, come on up with your picture.
We call our caption a costume party at a cafe because people are dressed up, and it looks like they're at a cafe.
There's no way an astronaut, no cowboys, and maybe goofy
Great.
Hawaiian girl.
Thank you. You can head right back to your seat. That's everybody, correct? All right, now we're going to look at some evidence in a text. So I'm going to invite you over to the carpet. I'm going to share a story with you. Okay, so I'm going to share a story with you called The Stranger by Chris Van Allsburg. I'm going to model for you what I'm thinking as I'm reading. Then we're going to talk about some evidence in this story. Then you're going to get a book, and you're going to get it with a partner. You can use the same partner or a different partner, it doesn't matter. And you're going to read the story, a different story, and come up with your own evidence. Okay, ready? Right. It was the time of year Farmer Bailey liked best, when summer turned to fall. He whistled as he drove along. A cool breeze blew across his face through the truck's open window. Then it happened. There was a loud thump. Mr. Bailey jammed on his brakes. Oh no, he thought, I've hit a deer. But it wasn't a deer. The farmer found lying in the road a man. Mr. Bailey knelt down. That evening, Katie sat with the stranger watching the setting sun. High above them, a flock of geese in perfect V formation flew south on the trip that they made every fall. The stranger could not take his eyes off the birds. He stared at them like a man who had been hypnotized. They're watching birds. What do I know about birds that fly south in the fall? The trees that surround it stay green for weeks after the trees to the north have turned red and orange. Then overnight they change their color to the brightest of any tree around. Etched in frost on the farmhouse window are the words that say, "See you next fall." Okay, so does the author tell us who the stranger is? No, he doesn't say the stranger is so-and-so. But we can use clues from this story to make a guess. We can use evidence from some of the pictures to make a guess. Raise your hand if you have a guess as to who you think the stranger is. Gracie?
He's an alien.
No, he's not an alien. Bella?
He's like one of those imaginary people who changes the seasons
Like Jack Frost. Excellent. He helps change the seasons. Is he a real person? No. But in this story, the author used what to help us understand the changing of the season? What literary element did he use? He gave something human-like characteristics. What is it? Personification. Jack Frost is not a real person. The changing of the seasons is not a real person. But to make this story more interesting, that's what the author did. Okay? So you are going to get a book. Before we do real quick. I heard when you were describing your pictures, I was hoping that you would do this, and you did. I heard some words that you used as evidence. And while we were reading the story, I tried to use some of these too. So I heard you say, in the picture, it looks like this, or it looks like that. I heard you say, for example, in this book, you could say, the author stated such and such, or according to the text, when the stranger blew on the leaf, what happened? It turned orange. On page 2, it said this. Based on what I read, or based on what I know. So those are some sentence starters that you can use to show evidence or proof. So I'm going to give you a book, and in the book there's a piece of paper. You're going to read the story. It's a picture book, so they're really short. You're going to read the story in the picture book, and then you're going to answer the questions on the page. Okay? The questions pertain to your book. So you're going to find a partner. So go ahead and find your partner and stand up, and I will give you a book. All right, guys, come on back, even if you're not finished. That's okay. Just put your paper back inside your book. Come on back to your seats. As we wrap up today, I want you to remember that sometimes authors use figurative language like personification to leave clues in their story to help you figure something out for evidence. Okay? Sometimes that's as in personification, like in our story, The Stranger. Some of the books that you read had some personification in it. Not all of them did, but if yours did and you know it did, raise your hand. If the book that you just read with your group had personification in it, raise your hand. The words, we had to use the pictures. The girl had salt in her hand and the deer came up and licked it. So we learned from the pictures. So you can use pictures and text from stories or from articles or the newspaper, anything that you read to prove your point of view.